When it comes to theory crafting about your favorite TV shows, games, movies, and more, there's no question that everybody has their fair share of out there ideas. From SpongeBob to Gravity Falls, fans have spent years picking apart every aspect of their favorite cartoons in search of clues and hidden meanings. Here are some of the craziest, believable, and downright shocking theories out there about your favorite cartoons. Let's dive in. First up, did you know SpongeBob SquarePants takes place in a post-apocalyptic world? If you had to pick one cartoon that was ripe for conspiracy theories, SpongeBob SquarePants would definitely be near the top of the list. After all, this is a show that takes place in an underwater city full of talking sea creatures. Not to mention, SpongeBob and his friends all have some pretty weird jobs. One of the most popular SpongeBob theories is that the show takes place in a post-apocalyptic world. The theory goes that humanity was wiped out by a nuclear war, and the few survivors took refuge under the sea. Over time, they developed into the sea creatures we see in the show. Perhaps a more down-to-earth theory, though, is that SpongeBob is a result of the 1940s nuclear testing in the Bikini Atoll. According to the official Nickelodeon synopsis, Bikini Bottom is situated right below the atoll. That means that the whole Bikini Bottom population is full of grossly mutated sea life. This all makes total sense too, when you consider the fact that SpongeBob and his friends all have some pretty bizarre physical traits. For example, Squidward has suction cups on his hands, while Patrick is basically a giant rock with a mouth. These theories definitely add a whole new level of depth to SpongeBob SquarePants. Who knows what other secrets this show is hiding? Quite a few, if we're being honest, with the number of episodes these guys have on TV. So, do you think Ed, and Eddie were victims of abuse? Ed, and Eddie was a cartoon that ran on Cartoon Network for over 10 years. The show followed the misadventures of three friends as they tried to earn money to buy Jawbreakers. Although the show was definitely aimed at kids, there were some pretty dark undertones throughout the series. In fact, some fans believe that the three main characters were all victims of abuse. Let's start with Ed. Many fans believe that Ed was a victim of emotional abuse and parental favoritism. His room is small, dirty, and neglected. His sister Sarah, on the other hand, leads a fantastic life. She has a huge room and seems completely spoiled. That's far from the worst thing that takes place though, as one episode features Ed's parents taking away his stairs, essentially locking him in his own room. Talk about a Harry Potter style punishment and then some for Ed, or Double D. The abuse comes in the form of neglect from his parents. All he ever does is chores around the house, and his parents don't seem to care about him at all. In fact, they only communicate with him through sticky notes that they leave around the house with more chores on them. Finally, we have Eddie, who's abused by his older brother physically. Pretty dark for a cartoon, eh? All of this makes complete sense and really goes beyond the regular old shenanigans these three boys get up to. After all, if they're all abused, it makes sense that they're not going to behave all the time. Children who are abused tend to do things on their own, and Ed, and Eddie all seem to do just that. It really just goes to explain everything that happens in this show. So there's no surprise that this theory holds a lot of water for many fans. Next up, it's possible that Ash Ketchum is in a coma. As far as cartoon characters go, Ash Ketchum is pretty darn popular. He's the protagonist of one of the most popular anime franchises of all time, Pokemon. Ash has been on quite the journey since he first started his quest to become a Pokemon master all those years ago. However, one theory suggests that Ash may have never actually left home at all. Instead, many believe that Ash is in a coma, and the entire Pokemon world is just a figment of his imagination. The theory goes that Ash was hit by lightning and fell into a coma in the very first episode. The rest of the series then takes place inside his mind, where he can live out his dream of being a Pokemon master. This would explain why Ash never ages, and why Pikachu is the only Pokemon Pokemon that seems to be real. Yikes, that's pretty dark. There's also a theory that states that the Pokemon are being tortured in some way, which is why they fight so much. Of course, these are just theories, and there's no way to know for sure what the truth is. With that being said, this explains so much about the show, from all the strange characters to the fact that Ash doesn't age. It's all there in the theory. Since Ash was hit by lightning, there's not a big reach to guess that left him with quite a few health issues. And if that's the case, why not assume he was left in a coma? Think The Flash TV show, where Grant Gustin is left in a coma for years after being struck by lightning. But did you know that none of the Rugrats were actually real? Rugrats was a cartoon that ran for over 10 years on Nickelodeon. The show followed the adventures of a group of talking babies as they went on all sorts of wacky adventures. However, one theory suggests that none of the babies were actually real. Instead, they were all figments of Angelica's imagination. The theory goes that Angelica was a neglected and abused child. Her parents were too busy to pay attention to her, so she created the babies as imaginary friends. Over time, the babies became more real to her than anything else in her life. This would explain why they never age, and why they always seem to get into shenanigans. Of course, this is just a theory, but there's quite a bit of evidence that all of the babies used to be real, but died, and that's why they're stuck in only her imagination. Talk about traumatic. But Chucky supposedly died in a car crash, and Tommy was stillborn. Yikes. And now, Courage the dog may just be a scared little dog. Courage the dog is the titular character of a cartoon that ran on Cartoon Network for many years. The show followed the adventures of a small dog who always seemed to find himself in the middle of some sort of paranormal activity. However, one theory suggests that Courage may not be as brave as he seems. In fact, many believe that he's just a scared little dog who's too afraid to leave his home. The theory goes that Courage's owners, Muriel and Eustace, are actually quite old and can't take care of him anymore. They live in the middle of nowhere, so he's not used to seeing other people. This would explain why he's always so scared, and why he always imagines the worst when it comes to strangers. Of course, this is just a theory, but it would certainly explain a lot about Courage's character. See, everything is told from his perspective, so it's possible that everything is just overly dramatized because he's a little dog. This could explain why Courage is the only one who ever goes on adventures, and why he's always the one who has to save his owners from some sort of danger. If he's afraid of losing his only caretakers, then it would make sense that he views anyone else as a potential threat. Finally, did you know that Garfield is actually quite lonely? Garfield is a popular cartoon character that's been around for decades. The orange cat is known for his love of lasagna and his hatred of Mondays. However, one theory suggests that Garfield may be lonely. In fact, many believe that he's the only character in the strip who's actually real. In 1989, there was a series of strips in which Garfield woke up to find that he was the only one in his house. Naturally, this led to a lot of speculation from fans. Some believe that Garfield had died, and that the entire strip was his dying dream. Others believe that he's slowly starving to death, and that the food he constantly dreams about is his way of coping with hunger. Of course, these are just theories, and we may never know the truth. However, it's certainly interesting to think about, and could make a lot of sense given Garfield's character. Interestingly enough, this could also explain why Garfield never ages. If he's been stuck in the same house for decades, then he's probably not going to age much. Now is he? Well, he's not going to age in his dreams, but that's another story. In real life, Garfield is dying, and that's why he never ages in his dream. That's it for now, but be sure to stay tuned for more theories about your favorite cartoons. In the meantime, let us know what you think about these theories in the comments below. What are your thoughts about these theories? Do they hold any water? And which theory is your favorite? Let us know, and thanks for watching.